That was weird.
I'm gonna have to remember that artist. That's the first time I heard her.
Yeah, well, Nathaniel's heard it. He's a music aficionado, so he does he does a secret spin. So if you're into music, check out Nathaniel's site. Channel. It's called Nathaniel Mars, and it is secret spins early in the morning for me, which I'm at 6 or 5. But it's lunchtime wherever you are, Lunchbox Warren.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, it's lunchtime. But for me, it's 5 or 6 or 4 in the morning. And like I put notifications on. I'm like, shit, am I going to be up for that? Because my time zone's like so screwed up, man. I'll get messages like 3 in the morning and I'm like, okay, what's on Skype? Oh, artwork. Okay, let's go look at that. Reply. Oh, you got a question? And then I'm like, well, then I'll stay up till the next day. And I've been up for 24 hours. Shit, I need some sleep. But I'm so excited to have you, man. Like, I haven't done an interview for a while or a conversation for a while because I just, been busy with everything. So having you, on and do this is quite refreshing for me because I like talking to people. If you don't get that already, you should know that from what me. It's like
I really appreciate you having me on. This is I don't normally do this stuff, but I've been trying to get out more, and I'm starting to work into my marketing gear. So this has been so far. This is the 3rd show I've done this week. So yeah, it's been an experience, but I really do appreciate having you having me on.
Sweet. So there's Nathaniel goes, hello. He's a collector of many things, and comics is one of them. And also,
awesome.
Ross goes, Lady Hawk. Yeah, I never saw the video before, and one thing I noticed about that was the fact there was watercolors. I was going to ask you, Ross. Like the artwork there was friggin' brilliant.
Oh, it was beautiful. That watercolor sky as the car was jumping. Oh yeah, that was great. Really cool.
Yeah,
video.
I mean, so here's the thing about New Zealand, right? So you see that one about. Let me just bring that up so we can see a bit of that. But there's another one that came straight after that. That's done with knitting, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
We are very weird people down here in New Zealand. You should know, when it comes to creativity and art. So here's the one with like watercolors, right? Oh, where is it? Here. This is probably the pretty cool one here. So instead of like Mount Rushmore, it's got the
her in front of a green screen and then put the pieces in,
Yeah. So this is something I've actually done, rotoscoping. When I went to film school way back in 2003, 2004, might have been 2005 when I actually did a rotoscope for one of my short films. And dude, it is one of the most annoying, horrible things to do is rotoscoping. Cutting down a 1 minute thing or 1 second into 24 frames.
Oh.
And then every 24 frames, there would be a dud frame. So you have to remove that dud frame for every second.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, because it'll something will go wrong, and it'll spoil that that 24th frame or something.
Yeah.
And because I'm when I was at film school, I went there to learn how to exploit, film, how to make it into something great, how to make it something different than your normal everyday film, right? So when we were out there doing this, everybody else was just doing, we'll do like the average shoot, edit, send, right? I'm like, shoot, cut up, mess around with it, add color, like how do I make this something more than just a piece of film, right? Digital film. And so it was fun. It was fun, and I'm glad I did it because it taught me so much respect for film and movies and storytelling. And because before I went to that, I was like basically I was stage, I was a stage production manager, I was a stage writer, I was a stage actor. And so I spent 6 kind of years before that. Then I went to film school. So I went there with a goal. And this is the thing about life, right? If you don't have a goal,
Yeah.
you're not going to really achieve anything because you will give up the moment it gets hard. But I had a goal to go and make a feature film, and I did that, right? And I got a little silly award here somewhere showing that I got, I made a short film, even though I made an hour and 15-minute film. So
that's amazing, though. I dabbled in filmmaking a little bit when I was younger, and it was just the amount of moving parts is just amazing.
Yeah. And that's why when I came back off it, like I was doing short film, like on the weekends, because I was doing shift work. And like when I wasn't employed, I was able to do Saturday, Sunday. And then I got shift work and I wasn't available because one of those, Saturday I had to go to work, and Monday, Sunday I had off. And so everybody that was on some other frame, Monday to Friday, they're like, oh, we need you to go and film this for us. Come in this film set, do this film set. I'm like, I can't. And then I was like, I'm working, man. And next thing was like, I had a car accident and was like, I can't stand anyway, so I can't do filmmaking. So what was it? Comics. So I took everything I knew about storytelling and went, I'll make comics. And I've been in this world since 2007. However, nobody knows that because, I fell away, opened up a comic shop, did conventions and shit. But one of the guys that who's been to a convention is this guy here, Ross. He's a caricature artist. And so he's saying it looks like the background was watercolor and the film footage of her had been put through a watercolor effect. Yeah, that's what I thought, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also,
it's that moving background, all you need to do is have the still image and just kind of bring it into view and move there's, and you can create the effect like the characters are moving through across the background.
Yeah, and the other thing that Russ does, he's actually an animator as well. So he's done animation for music videos as well, and he's really good. And it's so good. I love talented people, and he's very talented. Now, before we go any further, right? I'm going to put you on solo so people get to know who you are, and then we'll do a bit of short bio, and then we'll get into it. Because this is kind of different to an interview. This is more conversational, and that we get to relax a bit more and pass, what we call shoot the shit, right? In New Zealand. So, yeah.
Well, hi, my name's LunchBox Warren. I'm 43 from the Pacific Northwest of the United States. I've been drawing since I was a little kid. Discovered comics when I was in the 5th grade through a Nintendo Power magazine. And then when I finally jumped over to Marvel, it was Joe Madura during his Uncanny X-Men run. And then from there, it just went down all the rabbit holes. I usually, when I first were buying comics, it was all based off the artist. I didn't really, I read the stories, but I was more about wanting to see Joe Mad just draw anything. Then when I got out of when I was in the military, I discovered The Dark Knight Returns. And then it was down a rabbit hole of these adult comics like Preacher, Eric Powell's The Goon, Hellboy, going down where I started realizing, okay, you don't have to just make superhero books. You can make anything you want in comics. And then all the way through until I decided to bite the bullet and actually make a comic. I started in 2016. And, I was being influenced by a lot of manga. I was influenced by a lot of the indie creators, seeing what they were making. And then when I decided to make Sig and Joe, I threw everything that I loved into try to throw it all into one story, and then came up with this big sci-fi space adventure on this tiny little moon called the Waste Can. But yeah, I always was hesitant on pulling the trigger on making comics because there was a confidence issue. And if you're gonna draw the interiors of comics, you need to know so much. Like in sequential artistry is like its own art form by itself. And it's just I dived in head first and I just started making my series, and I had made some pretty big mistakes. I had to start over after 56 pages, and now I have almost 3 issues of Sig and Joe done. The first one is on Kickstarter. The fourth one is all in the layout scripting stage, and by the end of the year, I should have all 4 of those issues done and out. I've got a AP Superverse crossover planned. I've been doing some one shots, and what started off is just like I'm going to try to make one issue turned into now I have like 4 different kinds of series going on at the same time, and I'm doing practically everything on them except for I have my business partner Max Weston does the editing and the lettering, so everything else is done by me on the book. So but yeah, it's been a pretty crazy wild ride. I'm just now learning how to market myself and how to create and build a fan base and diving into that part of it. But it's like every part of comics seems to be its own profession that takes years to master. And I'm trying to juggle all of it myself. And it's been a challenge, but it's I can't see myself not doing anything else now. I got to that breaking point you get to as a creator, and now I'm going to be making comics no matter what it seems like, but I'm having a blast doing it.
Awesome. So I'm going to put up the Kickstarter page here so we can, give people some reference to what we're talking about today.
Heck
so
yeah.
This is Sig and Joe, and this is the part 1 of 4 of the Train Heist Arc.
Yes,
kind of reminds me of like the Demon Slayer. Was it Demon Slayer? The Train to
what was that?
Or something like that?
Yeah, it's one of the best arcs in the series so far. Entertainment District was pretty good too, though. But I forgot what was the name of that one. Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So now, when I looked at it, I was like, why do you have such a low sort of like for us in New Zealand that's like 815 now? The reason I could think of is like because you did it all yourself, right?
Yeah the overhead costs for me is extremely low because I'm doing all of the artwork myself, and I'm doing my grayscale cell shaded style because I can't color because I'm colorblind, and it makes it digital color, or I could color, but I can't do it at a level to be a pro. So I'm just right now doing it in my gray wash style, which it's not just a straight black and white. It's more of like taking an animated cartoon and putting it into a gray, black and white mode. There's lots of gray tones in there, and I put my cell shading, the smoke on cigarette. I try to draw more realistically. So I'm kind of creating a style while I'm going along with this.
Now, one thing that really surprises me about this is that being colorblind, right? Not being able to see any color, or see certain colors. For people who don't know, and like myself, I know only a very minor thing about color blindness. Do you want to tell us a bit about that, please?
Okay. So when you have your color scale, you have red and you have yellow, and as those 2 colors get closer to each other, it turns into like orange, and there's all these different hundreds of shades that you can go through that you can see. Now, with color blindness, there comes a point in between the red and the orange where I can't see those shades. So everything kind of just blends to the same color. I mistake purples for blues. I mistake greens and browns not the hardcore colors, but when it gets into the shades, they call them tertiary colors. Essentially, you have your primary, secondary colors are made out of 2 primaries, and then you take a primary and a secondary, and it makes a tertiary, which is like your red, yellow, or like a shade of red that's between orange and red. So when you get into those higher shade levels, I can't see those. My mind just keeps it at a pretty much a block color all the way across. And then when you get into digital, it's even worse. Like physically, with markers, I can do better. But if I get onto digital, like how like in the art programs it has the color wheel and you move the little dot around, I couldn't find green if you put a gun against my head and tell me find green or I'm going to shoot you. I'm just going to be like, you're going to have to shoot, because I can't tell. I can't find any colors except for white and black, because everything in between, I can never get the shades just right. So for me, it's already learning a bunch of stuff as it is, then trying to work around that. I don't want to call it a handicap, but whatever you want to call that problem. I just decided to do gray washing, and then I'll pay for a colorist if it gets to that point. But yeah,
so
it's interesting.
So, like, I'm looking at this here, like I'm thinking, like, well, it must be so hard not being able to figure out. Like, I mean, you know, when we look at work, I mean, for us, like people who don't have that issue, right?
Yeah.
It's just normal for us to see what colors where, and because of comic books, you know, you either have black and white or you have, you know, color. People don't mind it as such because we're so used to not having color comics. But I mean, you know, black and white comics, noir as we call them. But one of the things is like not actually, you know, when you're not used to not being able to see those colors, you don't think about that. And I think these are things that it kind of like as creators, it makes you think twice. Like, I mean, and not what I mean is like I appreciate my site more, right?
Yeah,
you know, because I'm able to see all these colors and but I mean, like I'm nearsighted as well, or farsighted, I can't tell. Like, you know, everything gets blurry close to me, and so I understand that. But when that happened to me, I was like, wow, what's it like with people that can't see? You know, that's the first thing I thought of, right? If I'm not able to, like, and I think that's one of the things about like things like this, that when we come across people, and I don't mean like to kind of like some sort of, oh, poor Warren, can't. But the fact is that I get to realize for myself, learn for myself, and appreciate a bit more of what I have. And I think a lot of us don't do that a lot, and it feels like we don't sort of like appreciate what we do have. And we're always looking for the grass over there and going, oh, they have a better life and better things, but then we realize, you know, it'd be cool if we just made our situation better, you know, and then we'd be appreciated more. So, what was like when you know, you went to the military and stuff? How did you? What is fifth grade for you guys over there?
Oh, fifth grade.
What age is that?
Yeah, that's I want to say 12.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, it's like 12, 11 or 12 years old. I remember we bought a Nintendo, and it came with like that free year subscription of Nintendo Power. And then that's where I discovered, I actually have the graphic novel, but it was this series here.
Yeah.
And it was broken up into little sections and released in every issue for the year. And that's where I first really discovered like a different kind of comic than your usual. And also when I had access to a comic, because where I lived, there wasn't comic books around. The closest comic book was a spinner rack in a grocery store 30 miles away. So that was kind of like my first introduction. And plus I just loved it so much. And I started trying to draw the pages and the characters. And I was drawing Yoshi for like 3 years after I discovered that series. And it just kind of really sparked an interest in the comics when I saw the spinner rack at the grocery store going around. And then I saw that Joe Mad Uncanny X-Men art, and I was like, ooh, what is this? And that just blew my mind. And from there I was hooked.
Yeah, I've got Joe Mad's hardcover of Spider-Man Wolverine, which took him like almost 2 years to draw, up there somewhere on the bookshelf, because I was like, I knew that comic was coming out, but it took so long. People had basically dropped out, but then he finally got it out and was available in hardcover. And I was like, I got to have that in hardcover, and you get to see his beautiful work. Now, so Nathaniel's saying like he had the same free Nintendo Power subscription.
Yeah, it also had a Zelda comic too, which I have the graphic novel of also. But yeah, it was that was pretty cool seeing those two in there all the time.
Yeah, and the thing here is like people come to comics through different means, and it's not always the comic shop, it's not always the bookshop, And like I came to comics because there was a neighbor, like back in Fiji's somewhere, there was a Goofy doll, a Goofy comic book, right? And then my neighbor across the street who was reading 2000 AD at about 8 years old, same age as me, right?
Yeah.
And because his parents had a pet shop right next to the local bookshop where I lived. They don't have that anymore, neither of them. But like in my mom's little town, and so we used to read that every week because 2000 AD came out weekly, unlike the US Comics Monthly. And so you got to pick up a British comic every week talking about fascism, talking about Judge Dredd, robots. And that's why, like, I have a very eclectic sort of taste in life, when it comes to comics. It wasn't until like maybe 15 when I discovered Valiant on the spinner rack that you talk about, right?
Yeah.
At a secondhand bookshop, a secondhand store, they had a spinner rack with Valiant comics in this town that was further up from ours. And to think that like you could get Valiant there, but you couldn't get Valiant at the bookshop in my town, but you could get on a spinner rack at this other place. And I don't know what happened to my comics because I've had so much of my stuff lost over the years. But like, it's interesting that there's so many avenues, and now people just say, well, you can only go to comic shops or you can only go to, digital also. But like, if you can get comics anywhere, get out to anywhere you can.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where.
I wish it was more wildly available still. It used to be every drugstore, every gas station, mini mart had a spinner rack or a catalog magazine area, which usually had a section of comic books, whether it be just like Archie's or it could go even deeper into Marvel along those lines. Now it's like you have to go either online or you have to go to a specialty store, and then comic book stores. I'm lucky enough to be like an hour away from Portland, Oregon, and Portland is a massive comic book city that has a long history of indies, pros. I think IDW is out of there now. Bendis teaches a class there. Mike Mignola lives in the area. So I'm lucky enough where you go into there and there's a bunch of shops still operating and still going strong. But I do miss, and I think it's sad that you can't they're not so readily available like they used to be. And because I was able to go talk about comic making to a middle school. My aunt's a teacher there, and she let me talk to practically the entire school all through the day. And being able to spark kids' interest into comics and stuff that they don't get to see is it's not as available just to walk by and like, oh, what's this? It was really cool. But yeah, it's the market's getting more and more constrictive.
So we'll talk about that a bit more, but we've got a comment here from Nugget Ross. He's saying like, fascinating that you can't see some colors, Lunchbox.
Yeah, my sister bought me a pair of those outdoor colorblind glasses, and which I absolutely love her for because it's like almost $300. But I was almost disheartened when I put them on because it wasn't a huge shift, but it was really surprising to see how dull the world was because I didn't have the range of colors. Like I was explaining to her, it's like, imagine going back, your eyes are a 4K television. Mine are one of those old school square fat backed ones that didn't even have like it had like lower than 780p. It's like just imagine a real dull colored resolution on a movie. And it was surprising to me how much color blindness affects my vision. And I also thought it was ironic that my passion happens to be the one thing that color blindness really affects. Nothing else in my life, color blindness has been a problem for me. But the one thing I want to do for the rest of my life now, it happens to be a massive crutch. So
it's like basically it was like me, right? Like I want to do filmmaking. Now I can't stand long hours because to do filmmaking, you got to at least be able to stand 12 hours a day on your feet.
Oh yeah.
So you just basically, you know what? I'm just going to shift gear and go to comic books and still do tell stories, which is what I want, but change. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, comics are such a colorful, because I think in the sense, like, that's why I say, like, it doesn't matter if it's black and white, because you can still read in comic books in black and white. I mean, that's why we release our digitals in black and white, because you get to see the purity of the art, right? Without anybody else. It's just the artist interpretation of it. Now, we got Pete in the chat, and he's going, "We want Warren," but he's not happy with saying it once. He's saying it twice. We want Warren.
Pete Vasquez, he did a variant cover on my first issue of Sig and Joe on the Kickstarter.
Is it on the Kickstarter?
Yeah, it's on the page there. It's the last cover. If you scroll down just a bit, you'll see Sig and Joe in space, and that is right up there. That one right there. Yeah, that one is Pete Vasquez's cover. Available on there. All the covers are available for $10 plus $5 shipping in the US. It's more if you go international, but everyone knows that. The other two covers, or the other two variants, were done by me and colored by Phil Leon. He did the one that does most of my coloring for me, and this is the special digital PDF cover that's only on the PDF. The one above this one, but that's the standard cover right there.
So this is the PDF cover?
I made a cover for just the PDF, seeing how that goes, and then this is the cover for that one, and this is the standard cover right here. This is the one that I print the most of.
Okay. We'll dive into the story soon, but like let me just check with so with with the comic availability, like, you're 12 years old, you get a Nintendo subscription. Now, did you ask your parents to do that for you, or was that something that came along with? Because I have no idea about Nintendo subscriptions or anything like that down here.
It came along with it.
I'm not a gamer, so I have a Nintendo there, or PlayStation, or something that my dad gave to me a couple of years back, and I have an Xbox 360, but I don't class myself as a gamer. I've like probably about 100 games, but I still don't, because I'm a comic guy, so I don't think of myself as a gamer.
When you bought the Nintendo, and I can't remember, I think it was a Super Nintendo, it came with like a card, like a postcard that you could fill out, and you send that off, and then they would send you the monthly of the Nintendo Power, which was a monthly magazine that they put out. You could also find it on newsstands too. So we were having that one sent right to the house, and it was like it was just a GameStop magazine, if you ever seen any of those, showing different games. But then the ones that I was getting, they started showing the Super Mario Brothers comic strip, which at the time was a manga, and I didn't even know what manga was. And they didn't advertise it as a manga. They just this was the Mario Brothers script. So that was like my first introduction to manga, and I didn't even realize it. And then they also had the Zelda one, which was also a manga, and both of them were in color, and they were both directioned the right way. So I don't know if it's technically be a manga, but it was manga artists that were working on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
I think this is where everybody's like talking about like this thing about manga is new, and you just proved that it's not new. You've got a whole generation, because you're 12 and you're 43 now. So that's 30 years of people looking at animation, like anime and manga, and reading and being seeing that as a new thing, right?
Yeah,
seeing as something that was for them would work, that was their thing. In the sense, I'm trying to word it right here. So it's what attracted them to the art form when Marvel and DC dropped the ball, which was 30 years ago. And so now you have a generation who don't care about comics in the American standard form of what we call comics, the mainstream comics, because over that 30 years, you had kids growing up. Like, I've got friends who are 30 years old who actually have watched more anime than I have, because those animes they watched was rarely available on TV to them when I was watching them on DVD, right?
Yeah.
When I was watching Princess Mononoke, when I was watching, Ninja Scrolls, it was on DVD, but they were watching anime on friggin' TV every morning or every afternoon growing up for the last 30 odd years. And this is where, I think Marvel really did a disservice to lose their audience, and they have kept losing it.
They lost, they started doing after the Image rebellion, if you will. They stopped. They still do this to this day. Marvel doesn't want rock star artists because the rock star creators need more money, and then they can leave them and go off and do their own thing. So that means Marvel needs to either put up more cash for them or they move. And they've been gun shy ever since the big Image rebellion, if you will. And for me, I was big into Marvel until they started doing every 6 months a massive crossover. So I go into a comic shop and it's like, oh, I got to buy 35 books just to find out what's going on in this Spider-Man issue that I like because John Romita Jr. is drawing it. But now if I want to know what's going on, I got to buy all these other books. And they just kept on doing it over and over and over again. And for me, I ventured away, got into more, I want to say indie, but it's like, Preacher. Preacher's Vertigo, so that's actually mainstream. But like Eric Powell's Goon, Hellboy, going off into Ninja High School. When you're going into the smaller press areas, because the stories were self-contained, there was more of an art form to it, better quality. And then with this whole new DEI woke agenda Marvel, where they're trying to target new audiences or whatever, it's just got to the point where it's not like I don't like the fact I don't like the art, I don't like the writing, and I'm kind of out of it now. I will say they're having a turnaround though, because Ultimate Spider-Man, I got the first 4 issues of that, absolutely amazing artwork, story. In DC side, Sean Gordon Murphy's White Knight run was amazing. I still loved anything Snyder works on, who did Court of Owls and Death in the Family, all of those. So there is hope for that, and I do see there could be a reemergence if they get their priorities straight. But with
if you think about like Court of Owls was like about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's the best thing recently was probably the White Knight series by Sean Gordon Murphy. I do have a Batman and Robin book that has amazing artwork, but I haven't sat down really to read it to see how the story is, because it's really high energy artwork it's awesome. It reminds me of the old Nightwing and Batgirl comics, the Kane's daughter Batgirl comics. Those were awesome. I can't remember the name of the artist on that one. But it was mainstream really kind of pushed me away. And then I was just like, it's not, I don't like it. Is this that Princess? Is this the new X-Men?
Is it the X-Men? This is what I can't figure out. I don't know if it's the X-Men, but it's supposed to be the X-Men.
It looks like Princess. I think her name's Princess Mononoke's the artist.
It's Peach Monaco.
Peach Monaco, yeah. I love her art, but I do. I
have a couple of the covers.
Yeah, I've read one of these, and it's
X-Men 3. This is X-Men now.
Yeah. I only have one of them, and it's like issue 4. I need to get the other 3 and really to tell if it's a good story or not, because I'll give it a shot. I'll give any comic book a shot if the artwork's good and it looks interesting.
Yeah.
And her artwork is actually, me personally, I like it. I don't know how well the story is. And the one book that I did read did not feel very X-Men to me at all. I did like the artwork though, but it was like, I don't see X-Men here. It doesn't feel like X-Men. Ultimate Spider-Man felt like Spider-Man. Like, this is awesome. But Ultimate X-Men so far, I don't know.
Well, Nathaniel was saying Ultimate Spider-Man is great. Ultimate X-Men is great also, right? Maybe the
Okay,
story is
cool.
great. But the
Yeah.
funny thing here is like, Nico, the least you can do is get the book. Nope, that time of the month, I can't jump around. I'd be a horror show. Just like last week, how, the other characters going, how convenient. You get your period every time we have Jim. Yay,
Oh,
we
that's
need to know
really
about Shark Week in a comic book about X-Men. Shark Week, oh hoy, guys.
Yeah, a little too real.
Yeah, and it's like it kind of feels like excuses, but like seriously, I like Peach Monomoko's artwork. I do. I love her cover work, but I would not have hired her to do artwork for interiors for X-Men book, especially when your X-Men book is when you've just released your TV series, right? 97.
Yeah.
And everybody's excited, and then you go and go, we're going to get this person to do our interiors now. We shouldn't get somebody like, I don't know, maybe Jim Lee, who could really bounce back and bring us back to 97 and really sell lots of books for us. No, we'll get someone who does cover art to do interiors in watercolor for and this is why people go away. And like, I know Nathaniel said it's a good book, right? I get it, the story's good, but really it's about comics is about the artwork. Now, if people are going for the audience that they think they're going for, they're not getting those audience, because DC Comics went down 25% in sales last year alone.
Yeah.
That's not cool, because like that is suffering. And I don't like to bag on that, because look, the reason I mention it, because the comic stores are not going to be making money off it. They're not going to replenish their stock, as they say, like financial stock, by comics that people won't buy.
And if you have a target audience, you need to make sure that target audience is going to the place where you're selling. So if you have a target audience that doesn't walk into comic book shops, and one of your main distribution hubs for that comic is a comic book shop, then you really need to think about what's your, it's like, is this the right direction I want to go? And if I wanted to target a certain audience, you need to have that book in areas where that audience goes to, buys, along those lines. Like, is this book going to do better in a graphic novel form at a Barnes and Noble, because the target audience might be there, as an example,
right? And you're right about that, because see, like if that was Barnes and Noble or a comic book or a bookstore, buy this one from Macmillan Books, right?
Yeah,
all ages. This is called Hollow Fields. I picked this up for $5 because at a hospice or secondhand shop, right? But this is what I would like to see Monomoko's work in: a graphic novel at a bookstore, right, where these comics are not sold. What I would like to see, as talking about artwork here, like in comics, right? Because if you have decades of high quality interior art from quality interior artists, and then you basically give somebody that book who belongs to something like this in a bookstore, you're doing a disservice to people who are going to buy that comic book expecting something really cool, because you've got a track record of putting pretty cool interior art out there. Then it's it's either it's a 50-50 fail or success, right?
Yeah.
And you want a success. Right now you need successes in the comic store.
And they need to follow the X-Men 97 playbook, where it's like, we might sprinkle in some of the new stuff, but we're going to cater to the hardcore fan. And like you mentioned, like they don't even have to dust off any of the older artists, but they should be. But there's plenty of high level, even in indie art, that you could be drawing from if you just were willing to pay and willing to have that, let the creatives flow. If you're going to do X-Men 97 and you're not on the phone with Chris Claremont saying, hey, would you like to do a run of X-Men? Then you're not doing it right. You should be bringing in, even if it's rock star artist with a new writer or a rock star writer with a new artist, you can be energized if you cater. And and like you were said earlier, comic book shops are viable and they can be saved, but it's the quality of the mainstream product that's what's killing those shops. And Ultimate Spider-Man shows that there is an audience there. The book is on its fourth printing. It shows that there's an audience that wants to take this stuff in. You just have to give them a little bit of quality. You don't have to go playbook old school, but you do have to cater to the audience that's walking through there with the art and the story and along those lines. Peach, she's famous and she does have an audience. So you're going to have people who only buy her stuff who might venture into a comic book shop for the first time, and you might create a shop runner out of them. But you should also be thinking about, how much is that actually going to happen? And is it worth giving her such a big title? Like maybe she should be doing essentially what would be a one-shot graphic novel with a character of her choice and let her enjoy, go nuts. But when you give them such a main title, it's like you got to be real careful because you could be alienating a lot of fans if they don't like her style, and the story and the art along those lines.
Well, Nathaniel, agrees somewhat, right? It's a total change working mutants into a manga horror. You can do that, but in a self-contained story, not an ongoing series, right? And that's what you're saying. That's why I think that stuff like this is really cool because you're branching into graphic novels, and this is where Peach's book would have been perfect. Hey, we're going to get Peach Monomoko a graphic novel, whatever, 4 issues, whatever. And
like Sean Gordon Murphy's White Knight was like
a standalone story, not part of an ongoing series, because it kind of, you don't want to break. You really don't want to break the, what is it called? Like continuity, right? With art.
Yeah.
And this is something Glenn said, we got this great art in this comic book. Then I went to buy this one. The art was very bad. And next thing, the next one's good. You don't want to do that because that puts off people going, well, I don't want if the next artwork's going to be good or bad. And I think that's why indies is really good because you know what you're going to expect, right? You know what to expect, and if the person you're supporting has got this side of art, that's what's going to go all the way through because it's that person that's on that artwork, right? It's not somebody new. And I think you're right on the sense that they don't want to have superstar creators because that means you got to pay superstar prices, but that's the whole point of it because those superstar prizes and creators are bringing you more money, right?
Yeah.
Like that thing with the Ultimate Spider-Man, right? Because that suddenly just blew up. Out of the blue, it just went, this is a good book. Everybody, this is a good book. Buy it. Even I got me a Baron cover because I was like, yeah, it's a good read. I liked it. And I haven't been into Spider-Man until, when 2003, 4, this is when I started to come back into comics, and even that one sort of made me go away because of Mephisto One More Day thing. Just when I don't want to, and now it's sort of it's basically they've gone back 20 years to that where he's married now, he's got kids, and I think it's a good thing. So So Nathaniel's going, having it as an ongoing keeps people coming back into a comic shop. So I see it as a positive. Ultimate X-Men is one of Marvel's most popular books right now. But is that due to the art or is it due to the story?
Well, when they told me it's a X-Men told as a manga horror, I'm instantly interested now, and I'm going to either be looking for the graphic novel when it collects, or I'm also going to be looking for back issues of 1 through 3 because I have 4. Because that sounds really interesting to me. So it's one of those judging a book by its cover thing. Maybe you got to kind of keep, because manga horror is really interesting. So I'm much more interested now. I'm going to definitely look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I this morning I was watching before I went to bed. I was watching. How was it? Level 2. Let me see where it is. Level 2. Chilling in a world, chilling in another world with a level 2 super cheat powers. Right. That's what I was watching beforehand. Right. So I watch more anime than any other form of media. So entertainment, I should say. So this is what I was, so for me, manga, anime, I'm watching, all the time. And it's a great story. There's it all starts out romantic, what have you. And then suddenly you get to one episode and he's just like going to town on this chick because she hurt someone he loves. He just goes to town and you're like, I thought I was watching a calm, normal, happy joy experience, and then he gets to the situation. It's like, yeah, it was, the pacing was perfect.
I love good mixing of genres like that.
Yeah, so it's a isekai style, which I'm also writing one called Zolandia, which is a isekai style comic book fantasy, but because I love that whole parallel universe things. And and you're right, like I wonder if like this ultimate X-Men, right, with this whole is just a six issue series, or if it's an ongoing series, or if it's just a standalone arc. Because I think with the manga standalone arc, I think you're right, it will, it's going to work if it's a standalone 6 issues, because this just becomes like a freaking indie comic book, right?
Yeah,
because it's just like a single artist doing a single book. But my whole thing is like, well, calling it Ultimate X-Men basically means it goes back to Ultimate X-Men, right, from about 20 years ago. With, who was it? Mark Miller was writing that.
It was like I think Mark Miller and Adam Kubert or Andy Kubert was doing the artwork for Ultimate X-Men when it first started, and then it changed later down. I think Mark Millar was writing it. Wasn't he also writing the Avengers, which was with Brian Hitch as the artist, I believe? I really liked the Ultimate line. So back in the day,
was good.
Yeah.
But the Ultimate one was one that I was really reading because there were good stories in that. And that's where they got that whole Avengers thing, right? With the shield and all that for the movie. Yeah. And so that works. The other thing is, I forgot to post out there to say, hey, Art Victim, who's one of your supporters here, and he did excuse me, if I remember right, he did some work for you on here.
Yeah, both Pete did the variant cover and designed a sticker for me. Art Victim also designed a sticker for me, the Marv Apologize sticker. It's a 5x5 die cut. I already got them ordered and on the way here now. And awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love what he did with that sticker. Pete did the other one of the Chowder Squid, which is part of the story for issue 1. Both did a
I love those sort of things, man, because like I was just gonna show you this. Like, so one of the things about stuff like this with Kickstarter and stuff like that, with stretch goals and stuff. So this week I was out at the game shop. Like, one of my friends runs a card game shop, and this is from, I don't know, One Piece or something, or was it?
Oh, that's cool.
Pokemon, right? Or is it? I think I'm holding it upside down. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like a Pokemon.
Yeah, so I was able to pick that up, and then he goes, "Oh, I've got another one. Do you want another one?" It's like, yeah, all right, why not? So I got this one as well.
Oh, cool.
And so, because I like collecting badges as well as pins, as well as stickers.
Nice.
So this is from what is that? Like from Harry Potter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is what I like about Kickstarter, right? I like crowdfunding. It's like having people, and of course Naomi was here as well. I'm not sure if he's still around.
Hi, Larry.
I'm not sure what manga means. What does manga mean?
Oh,
Is that something?
manga. That's how he says manga. It's just
Right,
manga.
right. I guess it's a Canadian, right? Not manga.
Oh yeah. Oh, and if you get the digital tier, you're going to get a copy of Niobe #1 PDF in the digital tier on my Kickstarter. Well, any tier gets you the PDF, but
Right.
if you go with just the base level PDF for $5, you get issue 1 of Sig and Joe, you get issue 1 of Niobe, you get a 12-page ash can of my other one-shot series, How the Realms or The Day the Realm Stood Still, and also some other digital goodies. It's a really great deal for $5.
Right. So now that we're there, let's go talk about the comic book. All right. So
All right.
let me bring up the link for. So this is the link for the comic book, guys. If you want, if you can, do support the Sig and Joe comic book. Like Warren just said, digital. You've got physical ash cans. So much good stuff out here. And so this is the Adventures of Sig and Joe, issue 1, part 1 of 4. And he's, like you mentioned earlier on, if you weren't here, they're already on issue 4. We're working on issue 4, outlining it now.
Yeah, I'm finishing up the artwork on the pages of issue 3. That'll be done before the end of July, and then it'll be full speed production on issue 4, which will be done by the end of the year. I can do about 50 some pages of art in about a 3-month time period if I don't have anything derailing me, maybe 2 months. Right. So I've got a pretty good fast system now.
Right. So take us through the book itself. Like, let's go look at this story and how many pages. Take it away, man. I'm going to let you tell us everything.
If you go back up to the top real quick. Yeah, the Adventures of Sig and Joe. It is the first arc is a 4-part arc, but it's going to be an ongoing series. It's the elevator pitch, if you will, is the quick elevator pitch is it's essentially like Firefly, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Mad Max, and Blade Runner had a baby. It's a mixture of a lot of different stuff, but at its core, much like Firefly or Eric Powell's Lagoon, it's a comedy action adventure that has a lot of heart in it. The story takes place on a small little moon called the Waste Can, where 2 brothers, Sig, a wisecracking, sharpshooting cigarette, and his brother Joe, a no-nonsense, hard-hitting coffee cup, and their family of misfits, battle against the evil Dab Corporation, the corrupt Federal Alliance of Planets government, and the Children of Rex biker gang, who controls most of the Waste Can's underground elements. They're all fighting against them to protect the innocent citizens of the Waste Can. It is the first issue is a 44-page black and white comic, black and white, but it's more of a grayscale. I have a style where I put in, essentially it looks like it had color, and then you just put it into a black and white mode, so different shades of gray on it. I've got a lot of manga influence and a lot of very cartoony kind of style, a lot of energetic, but I also like trying to do a lot of action. The first issue is done. I already have them printed. I have all the variants printed. I have the stickers ordered. So I have a very low goal, and part of the reason why that goal was so low is because I essentially already have everything, and since I do 99% of the work of the book myself, my overhead is extremely low. So I figured I'd go with a lower goal and see how it goes and start building the audience and build upon that audience. Every Kickstarter, issue 2's Kickstarter will be going live in September, with issue 3's possibly by the end of the year. It depends if I want to do it at the end of the year. I might wait to the very beginning of the first year, and then issue 4's after it. It's a passion project that I've been working on since 2016, really. It's my college course in making comics. I love the story. It's created my love and passion for comics. And you're going to, if you take the step and you jump into the adventure, you're going to be surprised. There's some outright laugh out loud parts. And as the story goes, I hoped I can capture you and give you the same feelings that I had when I was reading like Eric Powell's Lagoon or watching Firefly, where you're laughing, you're in awe of the action, and then you get hit in the gut with a tender moment. And that's the kind of atmosphere I'm trying to create. And the most important thing with Sig and Joe is the book is made to be fun, and you have fun reading it, and you get entertained. I've got a $5 PDF tier. If you just want to jump in and see what it's like, you get a copy of Sig and Joe issue 1. You get a copy of Niobe's number 1 by Larry Higgins of Niobe Comics, a great series, and you'll get the first PDF of that one. You'll also get a 12-page kind of preview ash can of my other one-shot series, How the Day the Realm Stood Still. You're going to get a PDF digital copy of all of the variant covers, as well as a little digital package that has some wallpapers and some for cell phones and computers of my pinup art and some other stuff that I've made. If you want to get a physical tier, $10 with a $5 shipping in the US, $15 gets you the comic book in hand. I'm also offering the sketch covers, blanks for artists out there who want to have a blank so they can draw their own cover on it. Or for $50, I'll draw a wraparound hand-drawn cover of Sig and Joe, which I already have. I already have 3 of them made. I also have one from Pete Vasquez, so a hand-drawn Pete Vasquez Sig and Joe cover. This is one of my absolute favorites here. It's kind of a homage to Spider-Man's first cover right here. So this is the kind of thing you'll get, $50, and it's got the full comic book on the inside. And you can also buy a pack of blank sketch covers, 5 of them for $40. I'm offering stickers created by Art Victim and also Pete Vasquez, as well as 2 stickers I created of my own, a Sig and Joe logo sticker and the LunchBox comic sticker. As an add-on for $30, I'll draw a full drawing on the inside of your Gemini cover. There's a lot of just really cool stuff, and for $125, you can get everything. I'll just send you all the stickers. I'll send you a custom cover. I'll send you all the variants. And it's a great deal in this tough time. It's a fun book. I tell people it's a great book for a great price. And if you don't catch me this time around, a like and the share is amazing. And hopefully I can catch you on the next one. But yeah, Sig and Joe, you will not be disappointed. This title page picture here, this is a new one I created last night. I wanted to try to change up the campaign a little bit, and also I'm kind of poking fun at the boobs meta that people talk about on Kickstarter. So I drew that picture for that. But yeah, it's a funny, great little project, and we're gonna need a boob cover. It's Kickstarter, you got to have one. So, but yeah, it's the tongue-in-cheek humor. Silly characters in a kind of serious situations at time, and it's going to shock you and surprise you in ways and hit in more of the feels, especially as I'm learning. Like every comic, every page I do, I try to get better. So issue 3, story formatting, page composition, action is a lot better than issue 1. But you're going to see as you go along a major growth and progression, and you're going to kind of travel the journey with me as I learn starting making comics, and you're going to kind of watch as you read the story how I get better up until issue 4 arc and then beyond. I have plans to do, I say 100, but it could be anywhere from 50 to 100 issues worth of content in order to get the whole story done. I don't exactly know how many pages it is because I don't break down my stories that way. I write the story, I do the dialogue, and then as I'm laying out pages, the page numbers will make itself known. I don't try to be like, okay, I got to do 24, along those lines. But yeah, there's the sales. I'm getting better at it. Like, started off, I couldn't do a sales pitch to save my life. Now it's getting a little bit better, but it still needs a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? It's all learning, and you kind of figure out what. Oh, okay, I'm going to leave that up for next time. I'm going to leave that for next time. Like, the cool thing here is that when it's your own creation, right? When you're talking about your own stuff, it's the passion that comes out, right? Yeah. And I realize I've been watching some other people who aren't creating this stuff, and they're not creating this stuff, and they talk about it. There's no passion about it, right?
Yeah.
When it's your work, when it's your baby that you've built up, and that you're making, you got your hands on, you have excitement about it because you want to see it succeed, and and you want to see it reach as many people as possible, get as many people into as many people's hands as possible. And I think that's what, like Nathaniel was saying, looks like a lot of fun, and the cool thing is Nathaniel's in America, and so he doesn't have to worry about someone like me who has to pay a lot more to get some stuff over. But then again, here's what it comes down to. If you aren't able to pay for freight, you got digital.
Yeah.
And
I use digital with Kickstarters. Am I going to like this or not? Well, I'll do the digital. And then when issue 2 comes out, I'll get 1 and 2 because I really like it. So sometimes digital can be used for those people who's like, well, I don't know if I want to spend the $15-$20 it's going to take to get a comic. I'll try the 5, see if it's cool, and then I'll catch you on the next one, kind of deal.
Exactly, because that way you actually aren't losing out on a customer, but you might be actually gaining more on the back end, because now you've actually got 2 comics out to that person in physical as well as a digital the first time around. So now you've made, you've got 3 sales, and I think that was my concern when I was going into this, because after INCREDI-GIRL with that campaign, we came short for a couple $100, and so I was like, what do we do with like with the whole freight thing, because it's kind of like hurting us on the end of freight, because people don't want to spend $30 for a single comic. But then again, if you're buying variant covers, right? Say, oh, you got 3 covers, and now you're saving like 3 times the amount of freight costs. You're winning if you do it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I missed out on thinking about, and I learned from that. It's like, okay, it's good to like say, hey, you know what? Okay, we can do cover packs, and that way, by having cover packs, you're not only just getting 1 comic, but you're actually getting 3 comics or 4 comics or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you don't then worry about the freight cost, because you are dividing it across 3 comics. So it only means like you only, whatever it is for me, for New Zealand, it's $10 plus whatever the price of comic is. And so it works better that way. And I think I kind of like dropped the ball not thinking that way. But now I'm like, yeah, and you're right. Like, I mean, if you miss out on the first one, buy the digital and go, well, I want to try it out. And that's why we offer the black and white and digital now first, even before we go to color, because you learn from other people, right? I mean, we're watching everybody else out here, and by the way, we do a lot of interviews like this and conversations like this with other creators, because we're all learning off each other what works for us, because we know that some things might work for some people, might not work for us, but there's always a middle ground where you can things that work for everybody. And so I'm so glad, man, that I just can't imagine having a passion for comics and not being able to see the colors in it, in a certain way. But here's the thing, like, I've got a friend who can't use his left arm, and and yet he is as full of life, as full of gratitude and everything about him, because as a kid, he was shaking his baby, so his whole left side is paralyzed. And so we hang out each week, and we're like just buddies, just walking around like normal people. And people kind of look at him, go, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with him. He carries my shit, even on that one arm he can't use.
I always try to look at everything positively too, because it's just when you're going through this the whole process, and it's work for somebody else, when someone who might need the work. And two, I'm already putting on enough hats. I don't need to learn how to try to color too. I'll let someone else handle that. And because just doing them, everything about individual part of comics is like a full-time profession. And I've noticed I call it like a do-it-yourself kind of creator, that there are a lot of cons to that on quality, on how much I can actually put into each element, because you're trying to do 5 full-time jobs. One of those, 2 of those, 3 of those are going to suffer because of that, and your weaknesses are going to come out real quickly. When you're paying for an artist, you have full control over quality. So you don't like what this artist is doing, I'm going to pay this one over here. With me, if my art isn't good, that's on me. And if I want to get better, I have to practice and get better. So, if you wanted to change your artists up and your art style up, all you got to do is just find a new artist. For me, it's a whole process. So I save money on the end, but everything is now quality wise is on me. Advertising is on me if I'm not going to pay someone to do it. The artwork is on me. The writing is on me. So it puts a lot more pressure, and it also, if you want to succeed, you're going to have to really work hard to make sure that you're doing at least every one of those steps at an okay level. You should do some of them good and excellent, but at least the bad ones at okay. Because if you suffer in one area, you're just not going to make it.
And that's a great thing about, that's why I love working with teams, right? Because you know what your weaknesses are, and I think that's the best thing you can realize early on. What are my weaknesses, right? What can I not do right? And then find someone who can. And it's just, I think this whole I think the indie scene is the best scene around right now in comics, because there are so many people available around the world for work, and who aren't gonna do their B grade work for you. They're gonna bring their A game all the time. But you're hiring people for their work at that level of work. You're not hiring someone to be Jim Lee and then pay them peanuts, right? You're hiring people for whatever their value is. So like when basically when it came to coloring, it was like, okay, this is the 2 levels that I can charge you rates for what you can. And I went, okay, I'm happy with this level, and this is the level that I can afford to pay, and that's what I accept. And I think with the quality of work that's out here, I think we and the fact of internet has made connecting with creators like yourself, like myself, like Nobi, like Art Victim, like Pete, like so many others around now, that we're able to connect with them and find out who else they know, right? Who else is available. And so there's this beautiful level of talent that's available now that wasn't available before internet. Even in the last 5 years wasn't available, because the lack of the failure of the mainstream comics has allowed people to look elsewhere for work, and to be more negotiable or negotiate on prices as well, right? For page rates and stuff, which makes it easier for us as creators to be able to afford that. Whereas, if somebody comes to you and want Jim Lee prices, and they friggin' don't do Jim Lee work, you're not going to pay them Jim Lee prices. You're just going to go, I'm going to find someone else, buddy.
Yeah. And this business will humble you very quickly. Like, I could easily go out and say, I'm worth $100 an hour interior pages. But if no one's willing to pay that, then that means you're overcharging for what your services are. If Jim Lee comes out and says, okay, for this one time, I'm going to do a book at $100 a page, he's going to have people kicking down his door to get him to draw a comic book. So the business will teach you very quickly, with in the chat, Larry of Niobe Comics, he runs a well-oiled machine that's putting out high-level, pro-level work. And that's the reason why he's a big success on AP. That's the reason why he's a big success on his Kickstarters. And because he's hiring a good team, good quality artwork, has a good eye for it. And if you're going to do this business and be good at it, you have to have a level of honesty with yourself and with your product. When I look at Sig and Joe and I look at my own artwork, I'm not saying I'm bad, but I know that there's plenty of people out there who are better. And I know I can see a lot of growth in my book, in my style. I see where I have to make the improvements, and you got to learn how to balance being critical of your own self, but at the same time, having that confidence to keep moving. Like I always try to keep everything positive. So if someone does better art than me, I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Now what can I learn from them? If someone has a book out and it does 10 times my sales, but I think mine's better, I'm not going to be like, well, there's this crap, this is unfair. I'm going to be like, okay, good for you. That is awesome. I'm happy for you. Now let me see what you're doing that I can do to make myself better, and that's kind of, you have to have that level of I don't want to say humility, but you just have to have that honesty
reality.
With yourself. Reality. Because if you don't, reality will smack you hard in this business, know. And I always tell people the worst thing as a creative you can hear is nothing. When you put out a product and you hear silence, I would rather have someone rake me over the coals for an hour on a video, because at least you read the book and you got a response out of it. When you hand out a book and you don't hear anything, you're just like, oh Jesus. Like you're just trying to, it's like, that's terrible. So it's you got to have a tough shell, and you got to be honest with yourself if you want to grow. If you don't, you're just going to stay in one place, blame everyone around you, and not get anywhere.
I had, like, this past weekend, or was it last week? What's today? Saturday. Oh yeah, last Sunday, right? For New Zealand, we had last Saturday. Sorry, I had. Who did I have on? I had we do a weekly or fortnightly, comic toy unboxing, toy collectors thing. And so Big Stu out of Texas, he was one of he owns a toys and comic store out there in Texas, Borgia. And he he said, oh, I got my book now, because he backed us some Kickstarter. I said, yeah, I got hand delivered, because he's friends with Hawk, who's our publisher at Rising Sun Comics. And it was, the Kickstarter was run for INCREDI-GIRL, was run there on that page for Rising Sun. And he said, I received it. I said, oh, can you do a review? He said, oh, yeah, okay. I said, I don't want to know anything about it. You are free to say whatever you want. I'm not even going to, I don't even, I'm going to put you on, and you just, and so he got on there and just gave an, honest opinion about the book. And I was like, cool, I got a B+. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I didn't expect it to be like an A+, friggin' all those, number one in the world thing. I just wanted to, okay, so what do I need to do better? Oh, he wanted a bit more mainstream art style. I said, okay. And I wasn't sure what that was, but like,
some critiques and reviews are just opinions. And I always tell people, reviews aren't for the creator. Reviews are usually for an audience, and critiques should be lined up to be what they think is wrong and how you can get better. And I've learned that just because someone that you trust says that they don't like something doesn't necessarily mean you have to change it, but there should be little stuff filed in the head. If even the most cruelest words, like your book, I don't get it. Well, okay, maybe it's just not for them, or do I need to work on my composition, on my storytelling, because maybe something's getting lost in the translation. And you have to have, it's a juggling act, because you don't want to go and change everything just based off of one person's opinion. But there is stuff that you can snippets, and you can, it takes a little bit of dissecting what the words were. Some people are very eloquent. I gave out my book for free last year, where I was like, anyone who wants to review this and tell me on the side what they think, it'll be very appreciated, because I wanted to hear unbiased and opinions. And one person wrote out like a 4-page critique, and it was super detailed and super useful. Other people were all like, It's good. So it's like you got to take it how it is and dissect it down. And if someone says it's shit, well, then you're like, okay, well, is it shit, or is it? It's not necessarily means it's shit. It just means that type of person doesn't like it. So I start narrowing down audience. Any kind of words or any kind of opinion can be useful. Just depends on how you dissect and look at it.
Yeah, I think sending out review copies is good because you go, I want your opinion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Tell me where I can fix this. What don't you get? Is there any mistakes? Is there any grammar that I missed out on? Because I noticed that, like, for me, because of my head injuries, I miss words. I don't even see the words being missed. I just see them there, and I'm like, what do you mean they're not there? It's like, see that space? There's nothing there. I'm like, oh shit, And so I'm very conscientious about sending out review copies to to people. It doesn't matter, people like I know that are going to actually read it and critique it, not just read and go, oh yeah, that was good, thanks for the read,
Yeah.
But I think, if you want honest criticism, you're going to get it. And I think you can't put out anything unless it's gone through, a review process, because you're right. Like, you're humbling yourself to go, okay, is my work good enough? How do I fix it before it gets out there? And that's a cool way to look at things, I think, especially with the art, because once it's print, you cannot change it. It's out there. So, I think that's why doing what you did, and I guess as well as what I do, was sending out reviews, probably for anybody who's out there watching, who's new to comic books. It's a good thing, because ask for criticism on the book. A critique is it's not criticism. Criticism always comes, it's almost like people being negative about it. A critique, as we were taught at art school, was that you read it with that impartiality. You're reading it as a book itself, as a work itself, and you look at the grammar, you look at the art style, what can be fixed, what isn't making sense, what can be better, how can and that's where the critique works, where criticism doesn't.
Yeah, criticism is more of just an emotional response, and sometimes it's just theater. I had a review where they raked me over the coals, but I was honestly confused if they even had read it, because of what what they were saying. But I learned real quick that one, it's only opinion, and two, that there was a lot of stuff once I swim through the personal pain it cost me that I could find was really good, useful information. And it's you need to have that opinion, because you need to know, like, nothing you ever do is going to be perfect, and you're going to get better as you go. Like, I told myself, one thing I didn't want to happen to myself was I get caught in that loop where it's like, it's not good enough yet, so I'm not going to release it and continue. I'm going to just keep working on it until it's perfect. And then I realized, well, if you do that, sometimes you just never move anywhere. You just stay at the starting line waiting to get everything just perfect before you start down the track. And I realized that for myself, I would rather create a comic book that's shit and learn a shit ton of stuff with it than not put one out at all trying to make it perfect. And I've been doing that with everything now. It's like issue 1, I'm just going to make it. 56 pages later, I forgot to leave room for lettering, so now I have to redo it. Lesson learned. I learned the importance of character designs. I learned the importance of having dialogue before you start. Marketing with this Kickstarter, I've learned you have to practice and know your sales pitch. You have to understand how each of the social media platforms work so you can get your best reach areas. You have to constantly be out there and consistent. And all of this stuff is learned through just going through the process and being like, okay, I could have done this better, where I'm failing at this. Okay, now I need to know where I need to work and get better at it. Like I tell people, it's like making a cake. I give you the ingredients and you just keep trying until it's a cake. It might take 100 attempts, but you're going to learn every time you do it. Oh, that's why we keep the temperature here. Oh, that's why I'm using this ingredient at this time. Oh, so because with me, you learn all the stuff you're supposed to do. And I'm like, well, I can skip that step. oh, I don't need to do that step. I'll figure it out as I go. And then you get to page 10 and you realize that the character you've been drawing for the last 9 pages is supposed to have cargo pants on. You've been drawing them as slacks. Now you got to go through and redraw everything because you were figuring it out as you were doing it. And, it's just constantly mistakes leading to mastery, constantly moving until you figure it out, like the proverbial monkey with a calculator kind of thing.
Well, I mean, with our guys, we always go through thumbnails, right? We think out the page, and even after the thumbnails, right? The thumbnails come across, I go and letter them on top of it, and then I'll go, well, we kind of need to reorganize the art to suit it, or I need to reorganize the thumbnail, the speech bubbles to suit it. And even when we go back and do the pencils, the full pencils, sometimes we still need to go and change it. And then and then when we get to inking, same thing. Until one of my guys this morning goes, I'm still not happy with this here, right? And I'm still not happy with this. And until the both of you are happy, then then it's not final. And I think that's the problem with people like, oh yeah, it's okay, just let it go. And I think you got to be critical of yourself about your what you're trying to do. And one of my guys, I said, we're creating art. Art is subjective, and we're going to try to do our best to tell the story the best we can between the two of us. And then when we get the colorist, and he can do the color thing. But until then, we're working together towards a goal to tell a story our way, And this is something that I think a lot of people try to do it somebody else's way and try to compete with other people. I think when you just let go of that, you become a bit more relaxed. Like, I got to do it that way, doing comics the Marvel way or DC way. But then you're not DC, you're not Marvel, you're you.
No. Well, when I was drawing, I've been learning 2-point perspective, panel composition. I read the legends of both Western and manga, studying their panels, studying their pages. And I've noticed that I tell people, like, I'm really good. I'm getting really good at doing 2-point, 3-point, 1-point perspectives for the backgrounds and for foreshadows, or not foreshadows, but different, perspective. And it's like, well, how did you do it? I realized that if you try to stick so closely a stickler to the rules, it never looks right. But then when I just kind of used the principles that I learned and almost freehanded it, and then it may not be right, but it looks right. And there's been my creative process as it goes along. I went to very rigid to now I'm starting to relax more, and the artwork is getting more energy. The pages are getting better composition because I'm not trying. I don't want to say I'm not trying as hard, but it's more along the lines of trying to stick to a rigid rule base. Now I'm just opening myself up more. Like this page right here was a page that I added into the story because after I had my good friend Larry look over the book, he was like, this front part here is a little, I'm not quite sure what's going on. So I added 5 pages of story and dialogue to the front. And a lot of the stuff that I was doing in this stuff, I was just, learning to try to, oh, hold on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me hear a little guest here. His name is Bear. I don't know what's going on, why he's away from his mom, but I will hold on to him right now. Yes. But yeah, it's interesting to me. The better my stuff looked, the less I was following the rules, but just more of like using the rules as a base and then allowing myself to like, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be right. It just has to look and feel right. And then, I noticed that a lot with the Western style too. It's like, okay, like this guy's not doing proper perspective with this shot right here, but because of what he did with the energy and the body position, the energy just springs off the page for you. So yeah, it's been a great process trying to learn this and to get going on it.
All right. So as we finish off here, I've got Nathaniel here says by sharing your by sharing your process though, it's very it's valuable information to anyone who wants to get a project completed. So thanks. And that's basically what this is all about, like having conversations and just talking with independent creators. It's like you get to learn how it all comes together, and I think that's important because we're not trying to put on professionalism as a hat. We're just we're independent creators. We're creating and learning off each other to do stuff and hoping that people will learn from that. So as we finish off here, Warren, do you want to? I'm going to put you on solo. What I do usually is like a words of wisdom thing, right? Which basically, it's you get about 3 to 5 minutes to, or how many more minutes you want to take to just something for new creators out there, or some words of inspiration. So let me get the title up, and then we'll do that.
Yes,
words.
Yes.
Because I know it's late out there, but let me just say. So we got one more from Nathaniel, and he goes, "Yes, agree. Not everything has to make complete sense. Great to hear that. Recognize. Excellent.
Yeah, go ahead and sit over in the chair. I'm almost done, buddy. Sorry about that.
All good. All right, so I'm going to put you on solo, and here we go. When you're ready.
Yeah, for creators out there, comics is an amazingly difficult and crazy task. It's a crazy world to get into, but it's a beautiful and rewarding one. So whether I was able to talk to a middle school class about making comics, and I told them the three things to remember about making comics is that the best way to learn how to make comics, in my opinion, is just to make them, is to just go for it and then learn from it and just keep making each page, each panel, each section better than the last. And then the next thing to tell them to remember is that, if you're making a comic, you're a comic book creator. No one can take that away from you. There's different levels. There's high levels up in the pro areas, but there's just people who scratch out little comics on paper. Either way you do it, you're a comic book creator. Hold pride in that and never just stop moving forward. And the last thing to always remember is that if you're not having fun, it's just you're not doing it right. And at the end of the day, this needs to be fun, and you need to have a rewarding out of it. And you need to, and if it's not, then just change a few things and work to get that passion ignited into you. But if it's not fun, you're doing it wrong. And just everyone have a great night. And remember, no matter how difficult it gets for you, when the self-doubt creeps in, when the voices, the best thing to do is just to keep drawing. You'll never regret an hour drawing a page out. You'll never regret just putting your nose down, no matter what the brain's telling you, and just working. And just draw every day and just keep at it, and you will get it done. It might take you a long time. It might be a rocket ship overnight. Who knows? But the important thing is that you never stop. Oh, all right.
All right. Thank you for that. So with that, guys, thank you for watching. For everybody in chat, thank you for being a part of this. And thank you, Warren, for coming on. And do check out,
thank you for having me very much. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. So do check out, guys, Sig and Joe, Adventures of Sig and Joe on Kickstarter right now. I'll put the link in the chat again, just in case you guys are grabbing it later, on the rewatch. So here we go. I think hopefully that's the one, because when you go to copy paste from Kickstarter, they tend to give you a whole lot of other stuff. So Adventures of Sig and Joe, guys, do check it out. Links in the chat. And as Warren said, the comics are already printed, so there won't be much of a delay once it's all sorted out with when Kickstarter takes their share, which is quite a bit. So hopefully you guys can support him there, and wherever you are, hey, remember digital, right? You can if it's too much on the freight, to support digital, because it is still supporting the creators out here doing their hard work. So thank you, Nathaniel. We'll get you on the flip side on B side and the A side on Secret Spins. And for everybody who's watching, again, cook it down or have a good week wherever you are. And Warren, do you want to just say something before we finish?
Oh, thank you for having me on. Thank you, Nathaniel. And thank you for everybody that was in the chat. Again, really appreciate it, Ari. Thank you so much for having me on there. And hopefully we can do this again with less dog interruption.
It's all good. Good to see a puppy on there. All right. Like I always say, guys, wherever you are, be well, be safe. Now, and the usual, right? Got a loved one close by, give them a hug and a kiss. Let them know that you care. Otherwise, use Facebook, social media, cell phone, text message, all that good stuff. Because you don't know what people need right now. Let people know that you care. And wherever you are, be safe. Have a good week. We'll catch you on the flip side, and click it down. Or
bye-bye.